this is Paige from Mosaic Moments. In today's demo, I am showing you how to use the Soleil Die Set. This set comes with 4 dies. The largest die I'm holding here fits 2x6 squares on the grid. With this die, you can create larger borders around your layout that give your page a circle design as shown here. So the smaller dies each fill 2x2 squares on the grid. When placed next to each other, these dies also create a circular border all around your layout. The 2x2 dies are great if you want to create this circle design out of your photographs, since they are small enough to cut into the 4x6 size. Now that you have been introduced to the Soleil Die Set, let's get started with the demo. Before you begin, you will want to plan out your cuts. The 2x6 die is too long for a 4x6 photograph, so it's best for cutting paper, although if you would like to fill this space with a photo, you could use a 5x7 size. For my page, I am using pattern paper to create the circle design. The design of my paper could be rotated either way, so it would look the same no matter what direction I cut. But some papers have a pattern or icons that do need to be cut in a specific direction. So I will be cutting my paper as if this is the case. When you use the Soleil dies for the first time, it may be helpful to place them over your grid paper first to see which direction you need to cut. For this first cut, I am making sure my paper is in the horizontal direction and that the curve is facing down. Once you place your die over the paper, you may want to stick tape on top to prevent your paper from sliding in the machine. Now you can place the dyne paper into your die machine. Be sure to read the manufacturer's instructions beforehand to know how to place your plates in the machine correctly. We recommend placing the dies in at an angle. These machines cut by using pressure, so we find that when our dies are placed at an angle, that pressure distributes more evenly versus having the die cut straight through. This will help your die give a much smoother and cleaner cut. After you roll the die in your machine, you will have 2 different cuts. Keep the side you want to use for your layout. Repeat these same steps again until the outer edges of your Soleil design are complete. Be sure to rotate the die vertically and horizontally and that the curve is facing the correct direction each time. So after the outside of your circle is complete, use a second paper design to fill in the outer part. You will use the same steps as before, except this time you will keep the curved piece after you cut with the die. Now that your pieces are cut, the next step is to glue them on the grid paper. Here I'm using the Herma Dotto dispenser with Re-positionable glue. So right now I'm starting out with the outer edge since that's the easiest to line up on the grid. So make sure you line it up in the left corner of where you want it on the grid. And you want to make sure that the top and left grid lines are completely covered. And so once you have that down, you want to glue the back of the inner piece and you're going to scooch that up right next to the outer edge there. And there should not be a gap at all between the 2 pieces. They should be right next to each other to form a 2x6 block on the grid. And I'm going to repeat these steps again for the left side of my layout. I lined up the outer edge on the grid paper very carefully. Make sure those lines are covered, and then you're going to place in the inner piece. On the bottom and the right side of the grid paper, you're actually going to glue the inner pieces on first since they line up on the grid lines the easiest. And then you're going to place your outer edge right next to them. Now that the Soleil design is finished, you can fill the rest of the space with photos or paper cut with the basic dies. In this case, I used the 3x3 and 2x2 square dies from set A. Now my layout is complete and we can move on to the 2x2 Soleil dies. For the 2x2 sizes, I'm going to be cutting them with both photos and paper. My photos are going to fill the outer edges this time, And I have 2 horizontal and 2 vertical photographs to cut. Again, you may want to place your dies on the grid before you begin cutting to see which direction the photo needs to be cut. Make sure the 2x2 dies are lined up in the right order, and you'll line them up the same way again over your photograph. Although my photo, which is a 4x6, is too short to cut all 3 of them right next to each other, so I kind of have to improvise here. So what I do is I tape on the first 2 dies, whichever first 2 that are next to each other, and then I'm going to use scissors to cut around them, because otherwise I wouldn't have enough room in my photograph to cut my 3rd piece. So tape the first 2, use scissors to cut around them, and then you'll have enough space of your photograph to use for a 3rd piece. So these dies are small enough you can roll all 3 of them in your die machine at the same time. And after you roll them through, you want to save the pieces for the outer edge of the circle. So once you're done, you should have 3 pieces all together, and I do recommend using photographs that can blend in together. For the inner parts, I am using cardstock to fill in the rest of my circle design. Since it's one solid color, I don't have to keep the dies in any particular order. I can fit all 3 in the machine and cut them all at once. Now I just need to keep the pieces for the inside parts. Repeat these steps until you have enough to complete your Soleil design. Now, all of my pieces are ready to be added to the grid. Carefully glue the back of each piece and line them up next to each other on the grid. And I also have a bonus. If your cardstock seems a bit flat and boring, you can add some chalk ink for a little pop of color. Place the inner portions right next to the outer pieces. You should have 3 blocks that each cover 2x2 squares on the grid. Repeat these steps to finish your Soleil design. Again, for the top and left sides of the page, you're going to start with the outer part of the circle first, and then fill it in with the inner part. But on the bottom and right side of the layout, you're going to start with the inner parts first, like I'm doing here, and then fill the rest of the space with the outer pieces. Finally, you can complete your layout by filling in the rest with the basic shapes like I did here. This completes today's demo. I hope you enjoyed the Soleil Die Set. If so, give us a thumbs up. This set is fantastic because you can create 2 different designs. It's also great if you have pattern paper you would like to show. Before you exit out of this video, be sure to subscribe to be updated on future tutorials. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.